Alright, hello. Today we're gonna talk about CO. CO standing for Condition Overload, this mod right here. Basically, this used to be the mod that broke melee weapons, and melee weapons are, or were way stronger than everything else back in the day. Unmatched completely, everyone was using them. It was really, really strong to use the melee weapons compared to everything else, and it was all because of this mod. For the countered this by adding the same variant for primary and secondary weapons and nerfing the melee variant just a bit. So secondary weapons get 120% because they're considered stronger, and primary weapons get the normal 80%, or considered weaker, sorry. So because secondary weapons are considered weaker, they get a more powerful variant of this mod. So this is what we mean about CO when we say multiplicative additive CO. It just means condition overload. It comes from the name of the mod, and it's basically the way we got it into our guns. So now that you know what CO is, let's talk about what's the differences between multiplicative and additive CO. So if we go to our desktop, you'll see the change on colors, which means I can now show you this. So if we go to our Salsa here, we'll have a very basic builds to showcase. So I'm adding serration to the demonstration. So the Salsa has multiplicative CO. Now, to understand the differences between multiplicative and additive CO, we need to use the calculator. It's the easiest way to understand it. So with additive CO, the way galvanized WG would work, let's say we had two different stacks of status. So we're stacked in this fully, and then we have two status effects on the enemies. That's 165 from serration, percentage obviously, 360 from deadhead percentage, and then plus 80 from one stack, and then plus 80 for the second stack. So boom, 685% increase of your base damage. So really good, obviously. The thing is, if we remove serration, this is basically minus 165, it's still a 520% base damage increase. So the total increase from serration when the CO is additive is pretty negligible, which is why you see people, instead of going with serration, going something like a Bane mod, which would be this times 1.55. So 800% instead of 600%. Big difference, obviously. And we'll talk about this. But now, how does multiplicative CO work is basically we do 165 plus 360. The end result would be times 160, which is 2 times 80. So the difference is night and day. And if we didn't do serration on this case, it is still around 30,000% decrease. So now a lot of people say that this is a bug, the wiki notes it as a bug, but in general, we don't ever see this as being a bug. So if we wanted to do, Bane would be something like this. Boom. So this is why I use serration instead of Bane. So as you see, with the Bane mod, the increase of damage to the specific faction only, if I did Prime Bane of Premier instead of this, would be around 9,000%, which is still pretty much a lot. I'm not saying that Bane is weaker than adding serration, but adding serration instead of Bane isn't that big of a net difference. If we see, a serration buff gave us 84,000%, and a Bane mod gives us an 89,000%. So we'll showcase this and how these work. First of all, we'll show this without serration and just primary deadhead. The Salta is multiplicative on both firing modes, and we use a point strike to get exactly 100% crit chance on the secondary fire, which the direct hit deals 600 damage exactly, and we can multiply this and see what percentage of damage we get, essentially. So we're gonna have some pretty weak enemies to test this on, just to see what our damage numbers are, and I'm only gonna use a attack speed buff from a Wisp, nothing else. So trying to get the stacks. Okay, that's one stack. Second stack. And now we have that hit stack. So how are we gonna test this and be fair? We're gonna have a unmodded epitaph completely. This will help us deal a non-significant amount of status effects to the enemy, 2 or 3 at most. So we see 259k, which was an orange crit for some reason. 176k, normal crit, which is a lot more of what we are supposed to be seeing. 140k, which one less status, so in general, you know, with around 3 statuses, we get 140k damage. So that's the CO multiplying our damage by the percentage we showed before, because the base damage of the Salta is 600. So if we add Serration to this, we can now test the damage again. Can just one heavy gunners normally, it seems like. Anyways, so with Serration, we get 191k on 3 statuses. As you can see, once again, 3 statuses, 191k, so that is a 51,000 damage increase, which is pretty decent. 146k with 2 status effects, so yeah. 2 status effects match 3 status effects. As you see, 143k with 2 status effects on that guy, and we had 140k without Serration. So Serration played a pretty big role to increasing our damage. Now we're gonna take Serration out, add a Bane mode instead, because these are Grenier enemies. I have a primed Bane of Grenier here to add the most amount of damage possible. And we're gonna test it one more time so I can show you that we will still get more damage with Bane mode, but it will not be as big as some people really think. So killing the easier units for the stacks. So we're stacked. $221k with 3 status effects instead of 191k is still a 30,000 damage difference, obviously. 211k on that guy, because less cold procs, less critical damage. But yeah, you can see it's around 210 to 220k instead of 191,000 guaranteed. So there is still a 20,000 damage difference, obviously. You do expect to see more damage. And on 2 stacks, 166k instead of 144k, I believe it was. So yes. As you see, still more damage from Prime Bane mode. Prime Bane mode will always be king, but Serration still adds a significant amount of damage when we talk about Multiplicative CO. And obviously using both will take your damage to nutty levels, because you will have, if we do it on the calculator, 360 plus 165, and then times, 1.55, and then times, if we have 2 stacks, 160, boom. So using both of these will now deal a ton of damage. But I don't think we even need to showcase this. The whole point of this video is to show you how CO works without wasting much time. So this is about multiplicative CO. That's kind of how it works in general, and how you need to mode for it compared to Serration. And now we're gonna go to the Baza Prime to get our additive CO test, because it's by far the easiest weapon to do the test on, as the crit chance is 84%, which is very close to 100, and it helps a lot to demonstrate the kind of numbers we can get. So the Baza is on the additive CO. So if we do the Baza right now and we add Serration, it will be 165 plus 360 plus 2 times 80 would be 160. Oops. Shit. Oh, 525 plus 160, so 685. If we remove Serration, it would be still 520. So in this case, if we test it, we will see that Serration will not add a significant amount of damage to our weapon. Now this will be kind of harder to get stacks on, this weapon, because it shoots fast, but here we are. So now this guy has 2 stacks, 1682 from crits. So 1682 is the exact amount of number we did with 2 stacks. Now we're gonna do 3 stacks, waiting for the blast procs to disappear. 1928. So 1682 and 1928 from 2 and 3 stacks respectively of CO. Now, if we add serration to this, we will see that the damage that we're going to deal to the first target is going to be a lot better, but then it will tone down by a lot. So as you see, these easier units die very quickly, which is why some people may use this and be baited by it. So now we have this guy on 4 stacks actually, so it won't really count. There will be significant more damage. This guy's on 3 stacks, so 2310 instead of 1928. This guy's 2 stacks, 2129. Okay, that's a lot more actually. Maybe I got a status proc from the buzz itself. This guy is 4 stacks. Okay. There we go, that's kind of what I expected. 2064 instead of 1682. So in general, it's a 400 damage difference exactly. It's not like on average, you see that we get from 1682 to 2064 and from 1928 to 2310, which if we do just a simple math, please, just a simple math, we will see that 2064 minus 1682 is, well, 382, yeah, I missed the 2, so it's fine. And then 2310 minus 1928 is still 382. So as you see, the damage difference that we got from serration was exactly 382, because as you saw, serration is an exact buff and it works just like galvanized aptitude. So having 2 stacks of this mod is basically like adding this mod to the exact number. No randomness, pure 100% accuracy. Now this is pretty much the same with multiplicative CO, but with multiplicative CO, it is way larger numbers when it comes to serration and the Bane mode. So now, if we wanted to add a Bane mode to this instead, as we saw before, it would be 360 times 160, or plus 160 times 1.555 anyways. So it would be, you know, around 800 instead of 670 or whatever it was. So we will see way higher damages with the Bane mode on, and I shall show you this right now immediately. So the first kills are gonna be a bit worse, actually a bit less damage on the first kills, but the moment we stack it, it is gonna be way better. So already this is dealing higher damage before galvanized aptitude is even taken into account. So 2560 something, and then 2898 for the 3 stacks, because we got a status proc on the buzz itself. See that number again, 2566. So 2566, 2898, and you know, with serration it was 2064 and 2310. So just 2 stacks of aptitude overpass 3 stacks of aptitude by a lot when using a Bane mode. Now, you may ask, how do you know what gun is multiplicative and what gun is additive CO? Well, you can't really know by checking game, except you test the stuff out like I did over here. But in general, if you want a quick rundown of this, I have this spreadsheet that I will also add in the description, and it shows you multiplies, adds, you see all this. Whenever it says multiplies, it's multiplicative. Whenever it says add, it's additive. Now, there is a percentage on the right here, but this basically means that if your percentage is lower than 100%, it is an AoE weapon. So it does area of effect damage in general. So if we go to the Stalta, which is the easiest thing to test, we'll see that the charge attack has a 33%. If we go to the Stalta in game, we will see that the secondary fire deals 600 damage and the explosion deals 1200, which is the impact itself is a third of the explosion's damage, which is why there is a 33% over here. So that's what all of this means. Knowing this, and knowing from my previous video how you should mod depending on what mods you have on your weapon, if you wanted to get the maximum value and damage out of your salta with a single shot, you would most likely go with Aptitude Serration or Aptitude Bane mode. So Bane of Gunir, Bane of Oregon, depending on what you wanted to have. And then you would just go hella crits. Obviously, I have the Riven mod here, which adds the toxin as well, so that's really helpful. And then crit from here, and crit from Vigilance Supplies. Then Aptitude is in, Hammer Shots, the cold mode, so we get viral. And this is the second part. A lot of people ask me, what element should I go for to get the most damage? The answer is not always viral. The answer lies behind what is the primed elemental mode on your weapon. So on the primary weapons, it's the cold mode. On the shotgun weapons, if we go to a shotgun, we have a lot of primed elemental modes. So if we go and type primed, as you see just in the weapon itself, we have Chilling Grasp and Charge Shell. So both of these do magnetic. So in theory, if you wanted the maximum amount of damage in a single shot out of your shotgun, you would unironically go magnetic. It's that simple. On rifles, it's cold. So viral, blast, magnetic, all of these work. I prefer viral because viral also gives you the extra damage to health, and in general it has a pretty decent it has damage to Orokin. I like playing versus Orokin a lot because I like playing Fissures a lot, so I default to this no matter what I play. It's generally a good damage type. So knowing this, your build would look something like this. Galvanized Chamber is the mode remaining because Galvanized Chamber just gives us multi-shot. Now, if you wanted max damage from a single shot and you didn't care about multi-shot, you would do this. But that's pretty true. Straight up multi-shot is just way better than going Serration. And yeah, this is about it. This is about how you would go ahead to build your weapon to get the maximum damage. And then you would just bring a primer alongside it to get it to do the best amount of damage. So as you see, compared to my normal build, the only difference is Serration, and it's because I use the Stalta on a daily basis and I use the Stalta on pretty much any mission whatsoever. So this is the theory and how I build this weapon, and now you can realize and start experimenting with how to build your own weapons, and this video will probably help you a lot in understanding how to build depending on the situation and depending on what you bring along in the mission. Am I bringing a primer? Am I not? Am I building for explosive damage? Am I not? Which I actually forgot. I should have ended the video already, but I forgot to mention. If you didn't get it already, explosive damage does not count towards condition overload. It doesn't at all. And I don't know why that is. I'm not sure if that was a thing in the past that got nerfed or anything. I don't think it was, but it doesn't work, period. Which is why there is also the percentages depending on if your weapon is AoE or not, and that is why the Stalta has a 33% on the multiplicative CO lists. I should have mentioned that while looking at it. God damn it. Regardless. Hey, I'm pretty sure this video proves the point, and this video is still a pretty helpful guide to understand how these mods work and how to generally deal more damage in this game. So, thank you very much for watching, as always. Thank you for the support on the latest video, it means a lot to me. I'll leave a Discord and a Twitch link in the description below, and I'll see you guys on the next video.